Howdy everybody. This is the laser cut parts replacement rudder build video, and I did the whole thing in one whole video in about 12 and a half minutes. So here you go.
Okay, so I know the bandsaw is nice and easy, and it is, and I like my bandsaw, but to break apart these kinds of things, to separate it, the little snips work great. And they're a lot quicker than the bandsaw, so just FYI, it'll save you a lot of time. So, have fun.
So I'm going to try to give you some helpful tips in this because you've all seen this build before.
Okay, so you don't make the same mistake I did. It's easy to mark on the outside of this, but you can't run it through the saw this way. You have to set it down like this, but then you can't see it, so you have to mark it on the inside of the bend. So on this side, just FYI.
Okay, so a couple of helpful tips there. And Brad's with me for this first part. We're putting the spar together there. He came over to help me with that, and then you'll see me kind of just finish it up by myself later there. I did do this video at super speed, and so it's moving pretty doggone quick, but I figured if you wanted a little bit more detail, you could probably go watch the other rudder videos. I think I have it broken down into 3 or 4 videos where I kind of show you each part. So this is just the laser cut parts, redoing the rudder because of the whole laser cut part thing. But I am appreciative of Vans taking care of me like they have. They were very nice about it. They sent everything they said they were going to send. It was awesome. They even replaced some things that were damaged, no questions asked. So it was pretty nice of them to do that. So I appreciate their effort and their time that they put in there. And it is nice to know that they're getting kind of back on track and things are moving along. So that is good to hear as a builder. I don't know if you know that when you're sinking a whole bunch of money in the company you're buying stuff from, Files Chapter 11, that's rough. So I appreciate where they're at now.
Okay, so one of the issues with getting the replacement parts for the laser cut parts is that now some of my parts are dimpled because I rescued them from the old one, and some of the new parts are not dimpled. But the instructions have you dimple everything after you final drills all of the skins and line the trailing edge up. And so now my dilemma is, do I just go dimple everything because that's going to make the hole a little bit bigger, or do I not and I try to make it fit together even though they're a little bit off? I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to dimple the horn brace and the whatever the things are that go on the bottom of the rudder. I am not going to dimple the ribs because they're all kind of the same. But because I had to pull that stuff off, I don't know. We'll see what happens. But I am going to dimple that horn brace.
So there were a couple of parts that were dimpled that I just reused, which wasn't a big deal looking back on it. But when you're putting it together, you're like, hey, this one piece is dimpled and the other piece isn't dimpled. Should I dimple it? And then you're like, well, if I'm going to dimple it, why don't I dimple it all? So it gets, you just have to kind of think through it. It wasn't that big of a deal, though. In the grand scheme of things, it didn't really matter because you're basically putting the thing together to make sure it all fits, and then you go dimple everything anyway and then put it all back together. So it's not a big deal at all. But I do have a joke for you. So what do you call a wizard who's good with ceramics? Harry Pottery. Air pottery. Oh, that's dumb. Oh. um, I'm sorry. Some of these dad jokes are just pretty bad, but that's okay. How about this one? Because I like it. How did Vikings communicate with one another? Norse code. That one's pretty good. Got to think about that one. Uh, so this is just me attaching the basically just putting the rudder together at super speed. It is much harder. The first time I did it, my dad was holding it as I was kind of guiding things, so it was harder to do by yourself, but not near impossible. You just kind of make sure it's bent the right way, kind of put everything together and start putting in those pop rivets. And I don't know if you can see it here, but I do make a mistake and I have to drill out one of those pop rivets. And I hate drilling out pop rivets. It is much easier to drill out a regular 426 or 470 rivet. The pop rivets are not very fun to drill out. So just FYI. There I am putting all of the stuff back in. There is one of the issues that I ran into was I had already drilled the empennage fairing for the bottom of the rudder, and so the holes were already in the attached plates for the empennage fairing. And because I had new ones, I had to go mark those holes, so that was a little bit more difficult because you couldn't just go drill them in as you were doing it because they had already been drilled in and they'd already been countersunk, so they were a little bit bigger than normal. So just things you have to deal with, I guess, but not a big deal. Got it all together, started riveting stuff together, got the counterweight in there. It ended up being really, really nice. Bending the edges, I was a little bit not as concerned as I was the first time, because the first time I thought I was just going to break the thing and then have to start over anyway. So I was a little bit more aggressive, and it it is a lot easier than when you first when you first try it. You're a little bit apprehensive, but you have to kind of put some muscle behind it. You got to bend that metal, but it is kind of scary the first time you do it. The second time you do it, you're not so scared, and you just kind of bend it in, and it ended up looking really nice. And that thing is straight as an arrow. I mean, if it's off by a 16th, I'm I would be shocked. It's super close. So I was very glad about that. So it was nice to, and I tried to hook a ruler up to it. That didn't work, so I changed that pretty quick.
Well, forgot to film finishing this up, so I apologize for that. But I did go buy angle iron, put it up against there. It is awfully doggone close. Within a 32nd of an inch to being completely straight. So that's good. By the way, that little doohickey right there helps with the trailing edge of the rudder, and then the red one is for the trailing edge of the elevators. Godsend. Highly recommend getting those.
Yeah, those are extra little squeezer bits that fit in your squeezer to do the trailing edge. They are fantastic. I think I got mine from Cleveland Aircraft Tool. I'll put a thing here so you can see it, but those things are incredible. They really help out. They make the trailing edge of both your rudder and your elevators just look fantastic. So highly recommend those things. Um, and then that's just me bending those things again. I did find it easier that if you clamp after you've rolled it, so you tape it to it and you roll it to get that initial bend going. Then I found that if you clamp the broom handle to the table and then push against the aluminum to kind of bend it up toward it, it gets more of the shape that you want out of it. And then here I'm attaching my already completed empennage fairing rudder bottom part to the brand new attach strips, and so I had to kind of do that a little bit backwards. You have to kind of mark where the holes are supposed to be because they've been in there. And then I finish up rolling the edges there. So, and then you can see the empennage fairings on both sides are done. And then I'm actually going to cleco the rolled edges together. So it ended up really nice. It looks really good, nice and straight. So it's like I sort of knew what I was doing. I didn't. I kind of guessed the whole way, but sort of kind of knew.
Okay, so you're probably wondering what's going on. Well, when you bend these things, the one that goes underneath gets bent a little bit more, and to get it to kind of pop out, I built myself a little push rod, basically is all it is, so that I could get in there and then push that guy kind of up where it needed to be. But I kind of learned my lesson, and so on the bottom part here, I've bent that guy out already.
Yeah, so you learn as you go, and you kind of make your own tools and figure it out.
By the way, when they send you the replacement parts for the laser cut parts, they don't send you rivets, so you have to go buy those.
Yeah, and that's my only real complaint about the whole laser cut parts thing. Everything was fantastic, except for the fact that I had to buy my own rivets. And we're only talking about $30 in rivets. It's not a huge deal, but it was an added expense.
It's attached, and it works, and it is awfully dang close. I mean, there's, a 1/16 of an inch, 1/8 of an inch maybe, somewhere, maybe 3/32. I am calling that awesome. That's what I'm calling it. Just so you know, awesome. Awesome.
Have fun. Talk to you later. See ya.